Hello everyone, Thomas from Medieval Review, back from Longpoint 2017. I'm wearing the old 2016 shirt because I wore the 2017 Longpoint t-shirt a lot over the past couple of days, so it doesn't need to be worn anymore. This was an amazing Longpoint. There's a lot to come from it. And I will definitely have at least one video that's kind of my overall thoughts on Longpoint this year. But this video is really meant to act as a bit of a preface for a lot of the things to come over the next couple of weeks. I took a lot of footage, but not really probably what you would think I would have taken footage of. So, for example, I recorded none of the tournaments. Longpoint was actually taking care of that. They were live streaming, or at least recording, every single tournament bout that occurred, at least within the longsword tournaments. And from my understanding, they pretty much covered everything. I didn't really want to duplicate efforts. I wanted to take my camera where I thought it might be a little bit more useful this year. And that really means to a lot of the lectures. It was something that I did last year as I went to one lecture, and I kind of regretted having not gone to all of them. Last year I spent a lot of time in classes and watching tournaments and just kind of observing things. And of course I did a lot of video stuff. I did interviews with some vendors, etc. But this year I wanted to make sure that I got to a lot more of the lectures. And once I really got started, I realized, you know, these lectures are really good, and it would be a shame if they weren't kind of held in perpetuity. And there was no one recording a lot of them, so I made sure I recorded every lecture that I could attend. And as far as I know, I recorded every lecture that there was at Longpoint. It's possible I missed one, but I don't think I did. I did take a couple of classes as well, and they were quite enjoyable. Not as many as I did last year. And of course, I did not get a chance to participate in the tournament. I didn't make it into the initial cut, i.e. I didn't register for it because they were sold out at the time, and I kind of hoped I would get on the waiting list, but I never seemed to have gotten through. So, oh well, there's always next time. But anyway, to kind of preface the videos that will come out over the next couple of weeks would be my guess. I wanted to just speak a bit to what happened, what some of the things were, and, well, what you can expect from me. So, like I said, lots of lectures. The notes I'll have on lectures is that I did get permission from everyone that I recorded a lecture on. There are a couple of cases where the permissions to post the lecture online are actually incumbent upon more than just the individual who's giving the lecture, because the content is based on research. And anytime you get into research, you don't just go publish a video that someone gave on a presentation. Research is a very personal thing, and they have first rights to publication. And this is no different than when I was working with Vincent Le Chevalier and talking to Peter Johnson about sword dynamics. They had stuff they wanted to get published. They had done all the work. They had the right to get that out there first, and so I waited for them to do that. This might happen again, so there's at least one video, maybe more than one, depending on permissions that I get in writing. That may or may not actually get published on my channel quickly, but I would imagine they will be published eventually. It really just depends on whether or not there's sign-off from the respective researchers. Lots of those lectures, and every single one of them was good. Even the ones that I was like, I don't know, I'm going to get something from this, even those were amazing. Really good lectures. So I want to just real quick kind of go down the line of people to thank for lectures. Even if they're not going to have theirs posted on this channel anytime soon, I just wanted to go ahead and throw their names out there. Michael Chittister from the Wigton Hour. Obviously, he is the key to Wigton Hour, and he does great lectures, so I want to thank him. Michael Edison for his lecture. Meg Floyd, Reiner Van Noort, and Daniel Jacquet. All of them gave lectures, and even if I don't get to post their videos, thank you for me, just as an audience member, for your lectures. They were really great. I also got to do a couple of interviews that will be coming out. I'd like to thank Mike from Albion, as well as thanking Anthony from Black Armory. They both were very kind and generous to give me time in a very busy weekend to talk to them a bit about their respective companies and products and get some really interesting insight there. So look for those interviews coming up. They'll actually probably be some of the first videos I post because they actually will take a lot less editing to get out. I'd also like to just give my own personal thanks to 2 instructors from classes that I took. I only really got to take 2 classes. It's amazing how busy I was during the entire weekend with what would seem like so little to do. But I wanted to especially thank both Corey Winslow and Kyle Griswold. Corey is actually pretty well known for doing a lot of translation work on the Wikton Hour, but he did a really interesting class on how to fight against kind of unequal weapons. That is to say, a lot of times in HEMA, we do a lot of things on like longsword versus longsword and messer versus messer, and you know, an arming sword and buckler versus another arming sword and buckler. But what do you do when you have a longsword and your opponent has a spear or halberd? What do you do when you have a dagger and your opponent has a messer? What do you do when you have nothing in your hands and the person is in a tavern and they throw a stein at you? That's literally one of the things that I got to practice, was having a beer stein thrown at me. It was a water bottle for the purposes of practice, but what do you do? And he actually spoke to some of the sources that give us some of this information and taught us a lot of these things. It was a lot of fun. He even pulled out one of my favorite tricks, which is using your own hat, pulling off your hat, throwing it at your opponent as a way of a distraction. So really, really good class. I really enjoyed it. And then Kyle Griswold, he did a really good class on sword and buckler. I actually bought this blunt practice arming sword specifically to take that class because with everything I have around me in my armory, I don't have a blunt arming sword. It's kind of strange, weird oversight on my part. So I picked this up just so I could take that class, and it was worth it. It was a really good class. Kyle really knows his stuff, and I peppered him with a lot of questions just so I could have a better understanding of sword and buckler, and really, really great class. I wanted to thank all those people. Everyone made this Longpoint for me a really, really great Longpoint. So much better than last year, which is really, honestly hard to believe because 2016 was an amazing year for Longpoint. And finally, just the Longpoint staff, Jake Norwood, and all the people that are involved, because they're numerous, and I honestly don't know everyone's name, but so much effort was put into making Longpoint an amazing event for HEMA practitioners, and considering the scale this was at, it was really quite impressive. So an incredibly good job all around from the entire Longpoint staff. And then the last thing I would just note is I wanted to actually say a huge thank you to the fans, viewers who were actually at Longpoint. Last year when I went, I took my video camera and I knew of one person who I had talked to, who was a viewer who was expecting to see me there, and so we met, and we're good friends now, which is awesome. What's really quite incredible is that was last year. It was the only person who really even knew me or recognized me, except for Matt Easton, who I talked to, obviously. We knew each other from our respective YouTube fame, as it were. This year was really surprising. I had a lot of people talk to me, approach me. Some people would just say, "Hey, Thomas," and I'd be like, "Oh, hey," because, sorry, I didn't know your name. And honestly, I met so many people that the names are going to slip me, and I apologize because I'm already bad enough with names, but to just have been inundated with so many people was both humbling, but really impressive, and it's kind of a huge validation to some extent, because this channel, especially recently, it can be a bit of a burden. It's a lot of effort, and the rewards tend to sometimes just kind of feel like they go unnoticed, but having a chance to actually sit down in some cases and have conversations with someone who I've never really met, they have only watched my videos, people who have actually thanked me because my videos help them really get into HEMA, mind blown. To think that I was somehow a part of that, even in some small measure, is incredible. I walked away from this Longpoint more excited about my channel than I think I've ever been. And that is really, in part, a huge part, thanks to just the incredible amount of support and feedback I got just from people coming up and talking to me. I have no way of expressing just how much that means. But I really want to thank everyone who did. Even if all you did was just say, "Oh, hey, Thomas," the fact that you recognized me means a lot. And I don't mean that because I somehow desire the fame or something, but it means that, like, I'm actually important enough in your lives as a viewer to actually somewhat matter, and that's kind of awesome. So yeah, really good Longpoint. I'm going to have so many things to talk about past posting all the Longpoint videos that will come out over the next few weeks. I will have a closing statements video where I want to speak to a lot of what was talked about in the lectures, things that were talked about in the interviews, and even some of the things that I didn't record but were conversations that were had just in general at Longpoint. I wanted to speak to all of those things. The last thing I will say before I close out this introduction video is I wanted to give a special shout out to an up-and-coming company, and I say that because they don't have a website yet, but they're gonna get there. That would be, and I love the name, Redneck HEMA. When they get their presence online, I'm going to reach out to them, get some of their stuff, and kind of help promote them as a new HEMA supporting vendor company. Like so many vendors in HEMA that kind of specialize in the HEMA stuff, this is someone who practices HEMA, and a really good story behind it, but I'm going to save that for another time. I just wanted to go and give a shout out there because I wish I could have done a video on it and some of this stuff, but a lot of times I want to be able to point to websites and things like that. So reach out to me, Redneck HEMA, when you're ready. Let me know, and we'll begin talking. Yeah, guys, it's going to be some really good videos. I would highly suggest every single one of these lectures. Even the ones that don't sound interesting, there's so much good information in them, and they're so interesting, whether it's from a historical standpoint or from just a pure HEMA kind of sport or martial arts concept. And that matters, that distinction matters, because sport versus martial art, it's kind of a big conversation in HEMA these days. Yeah. This is exciting, guys. Look forward to these videos. I'm excited to be able to bring them to you. I had a monopoly on it because I was the only camera in the room in a lot of cases. But really, at the end of the day, I want to make sure I do my part to help support the efforts of all these individuals who do a lot within the HEMA community. Every video from Longpoint I'm going to post, I will be posting ad-free. And I'll be posting them Patreon free, because there's a lot of effort that comes from the individuals to make these videos happen, and I don't think it's really fair for me to try to take some monetization from that. The only exception to that will be the interviews with vendors. They make their money through the products, and I, in some way, make some small amount of money in ads in helping expose their products to the community in general. And so I will monetize those, but all the lectures, they're going to be online for free, as I want that to be universally available to everyone. Yeah, I'm excited, guys. Keep an eye out. You'll see the Longpoint, the new Longpoint 2017 logo pop up in front of each one of these videos, so you know that's where it's coming from. It's going to be really good stuff. So see you in the next couple of videos. Well, I won't see you, but you'll see some interesting next couple of videos. And I'll see you at the end of it, and we'll talk a bit about my closing thoughts on Longpoint 2017. Cheers.